Right, and coming to the next standard, that is SA600. SA600 we have used, that is using the work of another auditor, and SA610 is using the work of internal auditor, and SA620 is the using the work of auditors expert, right? Using the work of auditors. These are the 600 series standards. SA600 is using the work of other auditor. SA610 is using the work of internal auditor. SA620 is using the work of auditors expert. Right, and coming to the first standard is SA300 using the work of another auditor. We will see in this standard, we will see when when this particular standard is applicable, and what is the role of the principal auditor and what is the role of another auditor. Right, what is the role of principal auditor and what is the role of another auditor, and what are the reporting consideration, means how the principal auditor will report of basing the opinion of the other auditor, and what are the documentations required. Right, these are the main things that we will discuss in particular standard. Right, coming to the first that is the role of when this particular standard will apply, that is a 600 using the work of another auditor using the work of another auditor. Right, it applies in a situation where auditor, that is principal auditor, reporting of on the financial information of an entity uses the work of another auditor or the other auditor with respect to the financial information of one or more components included in the financial information of the entity to ensure the coordination. Right, this standard will apply, for example, when one person, that is one auditor, is auditing the financial information of one entity and uses the work of another entity, another auditor, of which that one or more of the financial information of the components of this entity is being audited by other auditor, and this main person, that is parent auditor, is taking the use of this particular other auditor, then SA600 applies. Right, and coming to that is application, where the SS600 is applicable. Once again, we'll see the using the work of another auditor applies situation where an auditor, the principal auditor, reporting on the financial information of an entity uses the work of another auditor with respect to the financial information of one or more components included the financial information of this entity, then SS600 will apply. Right, and coming to the first one is the role of principal auditor. What is the role of main principal auditor role? What he will do this particular standard as per SS600, that is using the work of another auditor. The role of principal auditor, we have shortcut form, that is a C square VP, that is CVP, CVP analysis. Right, in our AMA chapter, the C square CVP, C square double C CVP, and red C square CVP red. C square VP, CVP, and red. That is, first C is for professional competence, and next C is for considering of significant findings, and V is for the visit the component, and P is for perform sufficient supplementary test if necessary, and R is the review of the written summary of the other auditor procedures, and E is obtain sufficient appropriate evidence that the work of another auditor is adequate for the principal auditor's purpose, and D is for discussion of audit procedures applied by the other auditor. Right, what is the role of auditor of parent company? That is, what is the role of the principal auditor here in this SA600 is C square CVP red. C is for professional competence. Consider the professional competence of other auditor if the other auditor is not a member of ICA. If the other auditor is not a member of ICA, then only we have to check the professional competence. Otherwise, the professional competence we need not check, as he is a CA, and right, as per CA Act, he will have professional competence. Right, we have to assume, right, that is the main thing here. If the consider professional competence of the other auditor, if other auditor is not a member of ICI. Right, and coming to the next C, that is consider significant findings of other auditor and discuss audit findings with other auditor. Means we have to consider significant findings of other auditor and we have to discuss such findings with the other auditor. And coming to the next one, that is V, visit the component and examine books of accounts if essential. The principal auditor can visit the component and he can verify the books of accounts if he thinks it is essential for this purpose. And next one is P, perform supplementary test if necessary. He can perform any supplementary test if necessary. And also R is for review of the written summary of other auditors procedures and findings through questionnaires and checklist. The principal auditor can review the written summary of other auditor procedures through checklist or questionnaire. The principal auditor will prepare some questionnaire and the other auditor has to answer. That is the review of written summary of auditors procedures through checklist or questionnaire. And coming to the E, that is obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the work of other auditor is adequate for the principal auditor exposure. Means here the principal auditor has to obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the other auditor work is adequate for using in our this purpose. Auditor's purpose. Right, and D is for discuss audit procedures applied by the auditor. We have to discuss of significant findings and also discuss audit procedures applied by the auditor. This is about role of auditor of parent company. And coming to the role of subsidy comes, that is role of another auditor. What is the role of another auditor? Right, the role of another auditor as per SS 600 is right, there should be sufficient liaison between the principal auditor and the other auditor. Means the other auditor and the principal auditor shall be communicate or cooperation which facilitates a close working relationship. The liaison means communication or cooperation which facilitates a close working relationship. Means that sufficient liaison between shall be there between that both the principal auditor and another auditor. Right, for this purpose, for attaining this purpose, that the principal auditor may find it necessary to issue written communication to the auditor. For this maintaining such a relationship, the principal auditor may issue some written communication to the other auditor, and the other auditor knows knowing the context in which the work is to be used by the principal auditor should coordinate with the principal auditor. Means the principal auditor should know what work done by him will be used by the other auditor, will be used by the principal auditor, and he shall coordinate accordingly to the principal auditor. Right, in this role of another auditor, the main things shortcut here is ABCD. In role of principal auditor, we shortcut is C square CVP, C square VP, that is CVP, and red. Right, C is for professional competence, and C is for consider significant findings, and V is for visit the component, and P is for perform sufficient supplementary test if any, and R is for review the other written summary of the auditor's procedures through questionnaire checklist, and E is for obtain sufficient uploaded audit evidence that the other auditor's report is adequate for auditor's purpose, and D is for discuss with the auditor's procedures applied by the other auditor. Right, and coming to this here, the role of another auditor, that is ABCD. Here ABCD is adhering to the timetable, bringing to the attention, adhering to the timetable, bringing to the attention of principal auditor any significant findings, compliance with relevant statutory requirements, and D is for respond to the detailed questionnaires. We already said in our role of we will send some detailed questionnaires for written summary for checking the audit procedures. Right, in that ABCD. Role of another auditor, A is for adhering to the timetable, and B is for the bringing to the attention of the principal auditor any significant findings, and C is for compliance with relevant statutory requirements, and D is for respond to the detailed questionnaire. This is about role of other auditor. Right. Next, coming to the main thing, that is the reporting considerations. How the reporting of the principal auditor will be done based on the information obtained from the other auditor. Right, the principal auditor should express a qualified opinion or disclaimer of opinion because there is a limitation of the scope of audit. Means if the principal auditor has to give a qualified or adverse opinion, qualified or disclaimer opinion, because there is a limitation on scope. If the principal auditor concludes based on his procedures that the work of other auditor cannot be used, right? If the auditor has to give adverse, that is a qualify or disclaimer, only qualify or disclaimer opinion because there is a limitation on scope. If the principal auditor thinks that based on the work, based on the procedures performed, that the other auditor work cannot be used, and other auditor cannot be used, and one more thing, the principal auditor has not been able to perform sufficient additional procedures regarding the financial information of the component audited by the other auditor. In this case, first of all, the other auditor work the principal auditor cannot use, and second thing, the principal auditor is unable to perform any sufficient alternate other additional procedures regarding the financial information of the component audited by the other auditor. Means in these two cases, if these two, he cannot use the work of other auditor, and also he cannot able to perform additional procedures for obtaining the sufficient appropriate evidence on financial information audited by the other auditor, then the principal auditor can give qualified or disclaimer opinion as per SS 705. Right, this is about reporting considerations. And coming to the next one is documentation. What documentation should this particular person has to do? Right, the main thing in one more thing in that reporting considerations, there should be division of responsibility. There should be clear cut classification of division of responsibility which should be there in the auditor report. That means that this particular percentage of this assets, particular percentage of these liabilities, particular percentage of this revenue, particular percentage of these expenses have been audited by the another auditor. Right, the division of responsibility statement shall be given. That is once again we will read that statement. When the principal auditor has to base his opinion on the financial information of the entity, a whole relying upon the statements and reports of the other auditors in his report should state clearly the division of responsibility for the financial information of the entity, indicating the extent to which the financial information of the components audited by the other auditor have been included in the financial information of the entity. Right, the division of responsibility shall be clearly there in the audit report by the principal auditor. And coming to the documentation, what documentation the principal auditor will do in this particular case? The documentation the principal auditor will do is principal auditor should document in the audit working papers to the following things. What the following things he will do? What are the components audited by the other auditor? Means what are the components audited by the other auditor, and what is the name of the other auditor? Right, components audited by another auditor, and what is the name of the other auditor, and audit procedures adopted by the audit procedures adopted and results thereof, and conclusions that the particular component is not material. Right, and manner of dealing with modification as an auditor report. Right. These are the four things. Very last thing is very important. The manner of dealing the modifications in another audit report. Means, for example, that is other audit report is modified, and how he has taken this particular modification of other audit report in the current, that is principal auditor's report. That manner of dealing also will be there. What are the documentation he has to do? What components are audited and by whom it is audited, and what are the audit procedures applied, and what are the results thereof, and conclusions that made by this auditor that the components are not material, and manner of dealing with this particular another test report, right? These are the documentation, right? This is all about SA6 standard, right? And coming to SA6 standard is using the work of internal auditor, right? Right, in this particular standard is SA6 standard is using the work of internal auditor. We'll see the following two types, that is the evaluation of internal audit function, so as to reliance on the work of internal auditor. Means how the what is the how the external auditor will going to rely on the work of internal audit function by the internal auditor, how the reliance will be done. Like we have seen the role of a principal auditor in 600, right, using the work of other auditor, C square V period. Same like we have shortcut here for this reliance matter of internal auditor, that is OCE, that is O is for objectivity of the internal auditor, and C is for the level of competence, and A is for the approach, that systematic and disciplined approach. And further in O we have OCC, OC, right? And further in level of competence we have PAC M, right? These are shortcuts for this reliance topic. And coming to the next topic, that is using the direct assistance of internal auditor. These are the only two topics which we are going to discuss in particular study, that is keeping reliance of internal audit work, and how this direct assistance is going to be taking place. In direct assistance, we'll see the internal auditor cannot give direct assistance in particular matters or the matters, and how that direct assistance will be taken, the procedure we'll see, right? And coming to the first one, that is evaluation of internal auditor function. So as to rely on the work of internal auditors. Before going that, first we will see the what is definition of internal audit function. The internal audit function means a function of an entity that performs assurance and consulting activities designed to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of the entity's governance, fasting, and risk management and internal control purpose. These are the three areas where the internal function can operate. That is the function of entity that performs assurance and consulting services designed to evaluate and improve the effectiveness. They are designed to evaluate and they improve the effectiveness, because they are internal auditors. They have to improve the effectiveness of entities governance, risk management, and internal control process. Right? And coming to this reliance topic, that is evaluation of internal audit function, so has to rely on the work of internal auditor. Right? SA6 using the work of internal auditors deals with the external auditors' responsibilities regarding the work of internal auditors when the external auditor has determined in accordance with SA 315 that the internal audit function is likely to relevant to the audit. Right? In SA16 they have some points like when the external auditor will rely on the work of internal auditor. That is OCA, we have discussed objective of the internal auditor we have to see, and the level of competence and the systematic discipline approach. Right? And coming to the objectivity here means the ability to perform the functions without allowing any biased nature. Means biased nature means that biasness should not be there. That thing we have to check. That objectivity refers to the ability to perform without allowing the bias to override the professional judgment. Factors that may affect the external auditor's evaluation of objectivity include the following. In this objectivity of final order, we have two things, that shortcut again, 4 points are there. OC. First O is for organizational status of internal audit functions. C is for conflicting responsibilities, and O is for oversight functions of those charged with governance with respect to the employment decisions related to the internal audit function. And C is for constraints and restrictions placed on internal audit function by the management of those charged with governance. Right? Objectivity means the ability to perform without any bias. It means ability to perform without the biases of override the professional judgment, right? What are the factors that affect the evaluation of this particular category of objectivity? The OC, the organizational status of internal function, and C is for conflicting responsibilities, and another O is for oversight function by the those charged with governance with respect to the employment decisions, so with respect to the internal audit function. And next C is the constraint or restriction imposed on the internal auditors by the management of those charged with governance. Based on these four factors, the external auditor statutory auditor can have this evaluation of the objectivity of the internal auditor. And next, that is OCA. Next is level of competence. The competence here means the attainment of any professional skill and knowledge to enable assigned tasks to be performed diligently. Right? This is attainment of any professional skill and knowledge to perform this task diligently. This is about the level of competence. For evaluating the level of competence, the auditor has the factors, the following factors. And we have four factors. The shortcut is PAC M. PACM, that is P is for policies for hiring and training and assigning internal auditors to internal engagement. Means how the companies having the policy for hiring and training these particular internal auditors that will affect the competence of the internal auditor. And next one is PAC and adequate of technical training and proficiency in auditing of internal auditors, right? Yeah, they have to be given to adequate technical training and proficiency in internal auditor. That will also enable auditor the external auditor to see the evaluation of what the level of competence. P is for policies of hiring, training, and assigning of internal auditors to the internal audit function. And A is for adequate technical training and proficiency in auditing of internal auditors. And K is for the knowledge of internal audit that is financial reporting and applicable financial reporting framework, right? But how much knowledge they have, that will define the competence level. And M is for membership of relevant professional bodies to oblige internal auditor to complete the professional standard. Means M is for membership of internal body, that particular internal auditor is a member of any other professional body. Then that will enable oblige him, that is the duty to abide by the professional standards issued by the professional body, right? That is the fourth point. PACM, policies of hiring, adequate technical and proficiency in auditing. And PAC, that is K, is the knowledge of for the knowledge of by the internal auditor regarding the financial reporting and applicable financial reporting framework, that is AFRF. And next one is M. M is for the membership in the professional body that will oblige the internal auditor to abide by the professional standard issued by the particular body. Right? And coming to the next one, OCA, that is approach, a systematic and disciplined approach. Right? The factors that may affect the external auditor's determination of whether the internal audit function applies a systematic and different approach. That there are two things here, that is existence and use of the existence, adequacy, and use of the audit documents. Internal audit procedure, documented internal audit procedure means whether that existence of that audit procedure is there, adequacy of audit procedure is there, and using of that audit documented audit procedure is there or not. There or not, we have to say that is existence, adequacy, and use of documented internal audit procedures, right? And the existence of appropriate quality control policies and procedures for the internal audit functions, right? These are the two things for the discipline, systematic and discipline approach we have to see. What are the two things? Existence is there, not adequacy, use of documented audited internal audited procedures. Right? And next one is the existence of appropriate quality control policies and procedures for internal audit function. Appropriate quality control policies we have the as per SQ1 or SA220, quality control policies are there or not, we have to check. Right? Destin's conclusion is that external auditor feels that he can rely, then he can rely. The ultimate responsibility is on the external auditor, that is, he is continued to be responsible even though if he relies on the internal audit work. Okay. This is about the reliance. And next one coming the important point, that is our using the work of auditor assistance of internal auditor, means the assistance, how the assistance is going to happen. Assistance using the work of internal auditor. Statutory auditor can take direct assistance of the internal audit subject to the following conditions. The following conditions are that there are three conditions that the external auditor can use the work of internal auditor. If it is not prohibited by any law or regulation, means if the such thing is not prohibited by any law or regulation, or there are no significant threats to the internal objectivity of the internal auditor we have seen in our reliance, that is objectivity of internal, there are no significant threats in this particular thing. And next third point is the internal auditor is sufficient competent person to do the proposed work. And one of the three conditions that any law is not prohibiting such thing, such use of internal auditor by the external auditor, and also that there is no significant threat to the objectivity of the internal auditor. And the third point is that there is a sufficient, that the internal auditor person is a sufficient and competent person to perform the proposed work. Right? And next one is the external auditor shall not use the internal auditor work to provide the direct assistance to perform the procedures. That means in some cases the direct assistance is not allowed even in the standard. There are some areas where the direct assistance can be taken from the internal auditor because of this some right independence or something, like because of high nature of risk involved in them. Like what are the points? The external auditor shall not use the internal auditors to provide the direct assistance to perform the procedures. That means here we can say the precautions to be taken for direct assistance, right? That is the one point. That is the external auditor shall not use the internal auditors to provide the direct assistance to perform the procedures. That there are 4 points here, right? In that 4 points, the first point is involve making significant judgments in the auditor. Any significant judgments will be taken, that work that the direct assistance cannot be taken from the internal auditor, means that that work cannot be altered to the internal auditor. And relate to the higher assessed risk of ROMM, that is related to higher assessed risk of from risk of material misstatements and relate to work with which the internal auditor have been involved or relate to decisions the external auditor makes in accordance with this SCA regarding the internal audit function and the use of its work or direct decisions. Then what are the four cases involves the significant judgments in the audit, and the next one is significant judgments internal audit cannot be adapted cannot be taken, and related to the higher assessed risk of problem, that is that in SC315 we have identified use of information method, right? In that ROMM is identified and assessed, or that higher level of risk assessment is there. In that particular relating to the particular any activity cannot be direct decision from internal audit can be taken. That is relating to the higher assessed risk of ROMM, that is the risk of material misstatements. And next one is related to the work, any work which is relating to that internal auditor have involved. If any work is there in that internal audit is involved, then direct decision cannot be taken from the internal auditor by the external auditor. And next one is the related to decision that the external auditor makes in accordance with the SCA. That any decision which have been taken by the external auditor in accordance with this SCA relating to what? Relating to the internal audit function and the use of its work, means that if this internal audit function or that assistance is there in that external audit is going to take any decision in that particular matter, also the direct decisions cannot be taken. It was the four conditions involved making significant judgments and related to the higher assessed risk of material misstatements. Right, significant judgments, higher level of risk of material misstatement, that is wrong, related to work with the internal dysfunction, related to the decisions taken by the external auditor in which the internal function about the internal function or direct decisions. Right. In the first one, that is involve making significant judgments in the audit. In that, we have some sub classifications are there. In that, what are the subclasses for the significant judgments in the audit? That is, first one is assessing the ROM, that is assessing the scope material misstatements. In that case, also the direct decisions cannot be taken, and evaluate sufficient evaluation of sufficiency of test performed. In that case, also it is not possible. And evaluate the appropriateness of the management assumption of going concern. It is also not in that case also not possible. And evaluate significant accounting is not possible. And evaluate some adequate disclosures in the financial statement and others affecting the auditor's report. Right, these are the cases. These are the cases. There is subclasses with the significant judgments. What are the cases? That is assessing of ROMM and sufficiency of test appropriateness of management assumption of going concern, significant accounting estimates, adequacy of disclosure in the financial statement, other matters affecting the auditor's report. Right, and next one is relating to that. Process. Prior to using of internal audit direct assistance, we have to do some procedure with there. Prior to using of internal auditors to provide the direct assistance for the purpose of audit, the action auditor shall what prior to that obtaining the direct assistance, what the action auditor has to do, he has to do the two things. He has to obtain a written agreement from whom? Written agreement from authorized representative of the entity that the internal auditors will be allowed to follow the external auditor's instructions. We have to take written agreement from the entity that we are going to use your internal auditor, and you should not intervene in the matters which the work of internal auditor is given by the external auditor. Right, the obtain written agreement from the authorized representative of the entity that the internal auditor's work will be allowed to follow the external auditor's instructions, and the entity will not intervene with the work internal auditor performed for the external auditor, and he has to obtain written agreement from the internal auditor also. He has to obtain written agreement from the internal auditor that they will give the confidential specific matters as instructed by the external auditor and inform the external auditor of the threats of their objectivity. Right? He has to obtain written agreement from the internal auditor that they will keep the confidentiality for specific purposes given by the external auditor, and also they will also inform the external auditor that in case of any threats of objectivity is there or not. Right? This is the case of prior to using of internal auditor direct decisions. We have to do the following: written agreement from the entity, written agreement from the internal auditor, written agreement from the entity regarding that we are going to use that in your internal auditor, and based on that, internal auditor is going to perform other instructions, and you should not intervene in the process. And obtain the agreement from the internal auditor that he has to keep confidentiality and he has to report to the external auditor in case of any threat for the objectivity. Right. This is about the internal audit, right? In the internal audit, in this direct assistance, there may be some questions like one question regarding that any direct assistance can be taken from internal audit for reviewing that what is the case assessing of risk of material ROMM, that we have that 4 points are there, precautions not to take that thing direct assistance. In that thing we have sufficiency of test appropriateness, significant accounting, adequacy of disclosures. They may have asked that in the particular case that the internal auditor can give direct assistance or not. Based on that we can have the solution, right? Right, and coming to this standard release SA 620, that is using the work of auditors expert. In this standard release using the work of auditors expert, that is our last standard in the 600 series. We will see the following things. Right, we will see the definition of what is auditors expert, and we will see the areas in which the auditors expert can be contained. That is areas in which the auditors expert can be what used, areas whose work of auditors expert can be used, and we'll see about right, the evaluation, the extent to which the expert work can be related, what is the how the auditor is going to evaluate the expert work, and how the extent of work can be relied upon. That point we're going to see, and we're going to see about the agreement, what is the agreement between the auditors expert and auditors expert and auditor, and what are the factors suggesting the detailed and written agreement between the auditors expert and auditor. And also we'll see about the reference, what is the reference of expert in auditor's report, means how the auditor will going to refer the auditor's expert in his report. Right, these are the things we are going to discuss in this particular standard, and also one case study we are going to discuss. Right, and coming to the first thing, that is definition of auditor's expert. Coming to the definition of auditor's expert means it may be individual, or it may be an organization possessing the expertise in field of other than accounting and auditing. Means it may be individual or organization. It should not. It is having experience in other than field auditing and accounting, because auditing and accounting or chartered accountant, that auditor is an expert, right? And whose work is used by the auditor to assist the auditor in obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. This is the meaning of auditor's expert. Auditor's expert is a person, or maybe individual or organization, so possessing the expertise in the field of other than accounting or auditing, and whose work is used by the auditor for obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Right, this is the meaning of auditor's expert definition. And coming to the areas in which this particular auditor's expert can be used, that is the main areas. We'll have it 6 areas are there. We'll categorize this into 3 categories, that is 2 in 3 into 2, that is 2 into 3, and 2 categories are valuation and actuarial calculations, valuation and actuary evaluation. That is first category, valuation and actuary evaluation. And next one is environmental liabilities and estimation of oil and gas reserves, environmental liabilities and estimation of oil and gas reserves. And next one is the tax and legal cases, legal matters and tax matters. That is the 6 categories, that is actuary valuation and actuary evaluation, environmental liabilities, estimation of oil and gas reserves, and legal matters and tax matters. Coming to this first, one by one we'll see the valuation of complex financial instruments, that is our financial instruments in the AS chapter. For valuation of complex financial instruments, land and buildings, plant and machinery, jewelry, works out of ethics, antiques, intangible assets, accurate liabilities assumed in business combinations, and assets that may have been impaired. Regarding the valuation, we can take this expert opinion, expert and coming to the next one, that is actuarial calculations of liabilities associated with insurance contracts or employee benefit plan. That is our AS 15 is that employee benefit plan, any actuarial valuation, insurance actuarial valuation is that is the first one. And next one is that estimation of oil and natural gas, that is general point. And the valuation of environmental liabilities and site cleanup cost, valuation of environmental liabilities and site cleanup cost, we can take the help of auditors expert. And the interpretation of contracts, laws and regulations, that is our legal matters, interpretation of contracts, laws and regulations, you can take the auditors expert. And you can take help for our advocates. And coming to the next tax matters analysis, the analysis of complex or unusual tax compliance issues. Only unusual or complex tax compliance issues only we will take an audited opinion of expert, that is expert we can use for 6 areas. Valuation of complex financial instruments, asset liabilities, like that thing, and actually calculation in case of insurance and employee benefit streams, and the estimation of oil and natural gas resources, valuation of environmental liabilities and site cleanup cost, interpretation of contract laws and regulations. And next one is the analysis of complex and unusual tax compliance issues, right? And coming to the next one, there is extent to which the expert work can be relayed. How the expert work extent work can be relayed. There are 3 points are there. When the auditor intends to use the work of expert, he shall evaluate the adequacy of the auditor's expert work. How the adequacy of the auditor's expert work can be evaluated, right? The findings and conclusions, significant assumptions and methods, and source data, right? For evaluating this, what is this? For evaluating the adequacy of auditor's expert with respect to the following: it is findings and conclusions, significant assumption methods, and source data used. For the significant findings and conclusions, we will see for the relevance and reasonableness of the expert's findings or conclusions that are inconsistent, and that their consistency with other audit evidence, right? We'll see here in findings and conclusions, we'll see the reasonableness and relevance of what findings and conclusions of whom, of experts, and their consistency with other audit evidence we'll see. And by that we can rely on the auditor's expert work. And next one is significant assumptions and methods. If the expert's work involves use of significant assumption and method, the relevance and reasonableness of those assumptions and methods should be evaluated, right? The keyword here, the relevance and reasonableness is the keyword here, right? And next one is source data used. Auditor is required to evaluate the relevance, completeness and accuracy of the source data used. What is the source data used by the expert? But the auditor has to check. Auditor is required to evaluate the relevance, completeness and accuracy, means whether the source data used is relevant and whether the source data is complete in all respects and the source data is accurate or not. Relevance, completeness, accuracy. Findings and conclusions will see the relevance and reasonableness, and also significant methods and assumptions and methods will see the relevance and reasonableness, and the findings will see the consistency also. But here significant methods and assumptions will see only relevance and reasonableness. And next one we will see that source data will see the relevance, completeness and accuracy, right? Right. What if if the auditor determines that the work of the auditor's expert is not adequate for the auditor's purpose? What auditor shall do? For example, the auditor's expert work is done, and auditors think that that work is not relevant for his purpose. Then what auditor has to do? Auditor can do two things. He shall agree with the expert on nature taking extra further work to be performed. Means he can go to the auditor's expert and will say, go, you perform some more extra work, or he can perform further audit procedures to obtain appropriate circumstances. He can do two things. He can again agree with that expert for further work to be done, or also he can aware for further audit procedures to get the appropriate audit evidence, right? This is all about extent of work, reliance of work of auditor's expert. And coming to the next one, agreement with auditor's expert. What are the agreement with auditor's expert will be done? The agreement with auditor's expert is that using the work of auditor's expert, the auditor shall agree in the writing when appropriate on the following matters with the auditor's expert. Generally, because the auditor's expert and auditors, there's some confidentiality is involved, right? And also some major information shall be given to the auditor's expert. For that, there shall be some agreement, formal agreement shall be given, right? The the agreement shall consist of the four things. For the four things, the nature and scope of objects of auditor's expert work may include relevant technical standards or professional industry requirements, right? In this, the first point is the nature and scope of objectives of the auditor's expert. What is his scope and what is his nature, and what is the objective of this particular auditor's expert? The first point in the agreement will be the nature, scope and objective of the auditor's expert. And the second point will be the respective roles and responsibilities of auditor's expert and auditors. Both roles means the responsibilities of auditor will be there and the responsibilities of as well as the auditor's expert will be there, and respective roles of both person will be there. That is the second point. And next point is relating to the nature, timing, extent of communication when the auditor's expert is going to communicate, including report to the auditors, right? And the need for auditor's expert to observe confidentiality requirements under the ethical requirements of law and regulation, means because in confidentiality will be there, right? For example, the auditor is auditing a client, the auditor shall maintain confidentiality. That confidentiality agreement also shall be entered, right? Because of these 4 points, the formal agreement is necessary. What are the 4 point nature, scope of what are the 4 points that will be there in the agreement with the auditor's expert? The nature, scope of auditor, the nature, scope, objective of the auditor's expert. The first point is nature, scope, auditor's expert, and second point is the respective roles and responsibilities of the auditors and auditor's expert as well as both persons. Then the next one is nature, timing, extent of the communication to the auditor's expert and including any reports also. And need for the auditor's expert to observe confidential requirements and the ethical requirements of laws and regulations, right? These are the 4 points that will be there in the agreement. And what are the factors that will assist, that will mandate, that will suggesting the detailed and written agreement between the auditor expert and auditors? There is a shortcut is that price L. The shortcut is price L, right? Price L. What are the factors suggesting detailed and written agreement? The shortcut is price L. Price LP is the auditor has not previously used the work performed by the expert. In that case, that agreement is mandatory because they are new. The auditor has not previously used the work of expert, that is P. And or is for responsibilities, the expected roles and responsibilities of the auditors and the auditor's expert is different, right? Different from that are normally expected, right? But those roles are different. Because of that reason also they have entered into an agreement. Price. Next one is I information. The auditor's expert will have access to the sensitive or confidential information. Because they will have access to the sensitive and confidential information, because of that the agreement is necessary. And next one is price, PRIC. C is for complex matters. The matters with which the auditor's expert work relates to highly risky, highly complex matters. Because of that also agreement is necessary. And next one is E. The greater the extent of auditor's expert work and its significance in the context of the auditor, means whatever the extent of, because the some valuation is there, registered value shall be appointed. For that, the greater extent of the auditor's expert work, the greater the impact, the significance in the auditor's report. Because of reason also auditor has entered into an agreement. Price E is finished. And next one is EL. Multi-jurisdictional legal or regulatory requirements apply. because see, we have been working with our different person, like engineering we have been working, mechanical engineer, some doctor we are working regarding the auditors expert. So multi jurisdictional legal or regulatory requirements will apply in that case. If that multi jurisdictional legal or regulatory requirements apply, like we will see that in a P professional ethics there are partnership sharing of profits or losses. That for that case also we have done an agreement, right? What are the factors that written agreement are the price, what is the price L, the P is the previously not, the daughter has not previously used the work of performed by the expert, right? And R is for the man, the responsibilities are different normally expected, and I is for the information, that is confidential information, and C is for complex matters, and E is for the extent, greater the significance in the auditor's report, and L is for multi-jurisdictional legal or regulatory requirements apply, right? This is all about the agreement and the factors, right? And right, one more thing, that is a reference to the reference of expert in auditor's report. SA 620, they are using the work of auditor's expert deals with the auditor's responsibilities regarding the use of individual or organization work in the field of expertise other than accounting or auditing, when that work is used to assist the auditor in obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence. This is about auditor's expert definition, and it shares the auditor's responsibilities, what auditor has to do in particular using the work of auditor's expert, that is SA 620 using the work of auditor's expert. And with respect to the reference to the expert of an auditor's report, as SC 620 provides the following. This question is expected, that is reference to the auditor's report. This question is expected, right? And the auditor shall not interfere, shall not refer the work of auditor's expert in the auditor's report containing an unmodified opinion unless required by law. For example, the auditor is giving unmodified opinion, and there is no requirement of giving a reference to the auditor's expert unless it is required by law. For example, if it is required by law, even though it is unmodified opinion, the auditor has to make a reference to in the auditor's report, right? If it is required by law, if such reference is required by law regulation, the auditor shall indicate the auditor's report that the reference does not reduce the auditor's responsibilities for the auditor's opinion. This is the important point. Even though it is required by the law and laws and regulations, that reference shall be made, that does not reduce that liability of the auditor. Not liability, that does not reduce the auditor responsibility for the audit opinion. Means the ultimate responsibility for expressing opinion on financial statement is of the auditor appointed, right? Not the auditor's expert. Because of auditor's expert making reference, our liability, our responsibility does not reduce. One question is also framed in the particular case study, also framed in asked in MTB April 19. This question is expected, right? And coming to the next one is, if the auditor makes a reference to the work of an auditor's expert in the auditor's report because of such reference is relevant to understanding of modification. For example, if any modification of auditor's opinion is there, and particular that modification of opinion based on the auditor's expert report, then such reference shall be given in the auditor's report only if prior permission of the auditor's expert is taken, right? The same thing is mentioned here. If the auditor makes reference to the work of an auditor's expert in the auditor's report because such reference is relevant for understanding of the modification of auditor's opinion, the auditor shall indicate the auditor's report that such reference does not reduce the responsibility of that opinion, right? Here the same thing is there, it shall not reduce the responsibility, right? And we have one more question, that is evaluate the competence and capability of objective of the auditor's expert. Means while evaluating the objectives of capabilities, objectivity, capability, competence of auditor's expert, what is the source of information for evaluation, how the information will be available for the auditors to evaluate such competence, capability, right? That is the sources of information. This question is also expected this time, that is sources of information for evaluation. The sources of information for evaluation are as follows, right? That is the personal experience with the previous work, and the discussion with the expert, discussion with other auditors, and knowledge of experts, qualification, membership, other forms of recognition, published books or papers. Auditors published books or papers, and auditors form quality control policies and procedures, right? Auditors form means the entity quality control policies and procedures. Auditors form quality control and procedures, we have to see, right? All the sources of information for evaluation. The sources of information for evaluation are as follows, right? What are they? That is discussion with the experts and discussion with other auditors, and personal experience with the auditor, and experience experts qualification, that is members and licensing fees, and books and papers, published books and papers of the expert, and quality control policies and procedures, right? Right, and in the case of expert work not adequate for audit purposes and auditor unable to perform for the audit procedures, then he can modify his opinion, Right, this is an all-time favorite standard SA 620. This is my work of auditors expert. Right, we are concluding the 600 series. Right, that's it. Thank you so much.